Reader's Companion in front of me if I need that.
Ah, excellent choice for reading material. And we are
Yeah.
live, gentlemen. We are live.
Hello.
Yep.
All right, welcome back, everybody. It's another my first time through NJO. Today we are discussing the novel Balance Point and the short story Recovery. Uh, so I'll be clear right off the bat. Much like with Agents of Chaos, this novel did not wow me, but it did have some important like continuity bits that I loved, some beautiful moments, and some interesting plot details that I'm sure will come into play later as we go further into these books. Uh,
Like always.
so let me go to my notes and get the ball rolling. Jaina getting critically injured at the beginning of the book, like at the very prologue. She
Need to go
was in a flight with
extravascular.
Rogues. Yeah, she was in a flight with Rogue Squadron trying to cover other pilots, and she got like severely injured. Like, and I'm not even just kidding. Like, not even like a little bit injured. She was like temporary blinded from this. It was
Hmm.
bad.
And that
Oh yeah.
that remains throughout the rest of the book, if I recall.
Yeah, it does, and I'm actually glad that it does because it
Mm.
definitely like it shows the consequences of like
Wait. Consequences? Injuries?
yes.
Star Wars? I mean, I thought that in Star Wars, if you got hit with, if you got impaled with a lightsaber, you'd be fine like a day.
I know, right? Turns out with
Yeah.
if you're in a near death explosion and exposed to the vacuum of space, you know, it maintain temporary blindness and can barely move,
It's
even
amazing.
with back to procedures. Somehow you can still be fine in a couple days or a day or two.
Yeah.
But to be fair, Jaina has at least the benefit of like force abilities.
And she knows how to use them.
Yeah, and she does know how to use them. She does have control over them. So I'll at least grant that. But there is like
I'm not upset with it
she.
in this because it actually takes time even with all that stuff.
Oh yeah, no. The novel takes place over like the course of like several weeks, so like maybe a month or two, I think,
Yeah. So
because
it's
it
not.
takes
It's definitely
because
not the same situation as what I was mocking.
oh I know, but like Han is helping the Rin at Duro because they're trying to set it up as like because I guess Duro has and I think this actually ties in as far back as like KOTOR um because back in KOTOR Duro or even like during the Mandalorian Wars Duro got raised
Yeah.
destroyed by the Mandalorians and the planet has just been kind of like a death ball and like all the Duros live in like floating cities over their own world and they're trying to do like a sort of restoration, which is why there's like so many colonists who lost homeworlds to the Vong at this point are all like flocking to Duro, and then you've got a corporation Cellcore that's supposed to be helping them, but
Hmm.
we all know they're just buying time. Uh,
Yep. Mm.
Yep.
and
Restoration efforts in the Star Wars universe always seem to have problems.
well, have you seen what happens in KOTOR 2?
Oh yes, I know.
The
That was just
Telos
one thing I was
restoration
thinking of.
project? How many hiccups were there?
Oh yeah, that's
Yep.
that's one of the things I was thinking of.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's never simple, is it?
No, it's not. It's not supposed to be simple. There's always supposed to be roadblocks and hiccups, and it's not all that different here, especially considering the reputation the Rin have been given throughout the galaxy. That they're like, they pretty much have the reputation that they're like space gypsies and thieves. This was kind of established
Yeah.
in Agents of Chaos too. That despite their ability to read people, and I guess they even invented the game of Sabak
Yep.
inadvertently,
Hmm.
which I thought was funny. I'm like, oh, so it's a gypsy game. Kind of makes sense. Uh, but it's like if you turn tarot cards into like regular everyday playing cards.
Hmm.
What you get.
But yeah, this it's Han. He's still trying to help the Rin recover, and then of course Leia is trying to get people there, and the Duros are not happy, obviously, uh,
Mhm.
with all these refugees coming, and they're not happy at all. That's
Correct
that's.
me if I'm wrong, but are the Duros ever happy?
I mean, I don't know too much about the Duros myself, but they seemed like an okay species. But this book kind of really shows just kind of like
I'm not
how
saying that
harsh
they're
they can be.
I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that they seem to be perpetually grumpy.
Yeah, yeah, and there was especially since there's a Duros admiral that's like and his name I couldn't help but laugh at. I think it was Admiral What? Like his name was Admiral What? I'm like
it
Sukuigar Nazover. Hey Andres,
it it
Sukuigar, good to see you, buddy.
it's like a setup to a Who's on First skit.
Yeah, yeah. And it's not just him. There's also another Duros named I think his name was Admiral Dizzlewit or something like that. And I think to myself, I'm like, I mean, okay, these aren't as funny as like what Barbara Hambly came up with, but these are still funny. Because remember, Barbara Hambly literally had a dude named Drub McCum.
Oh dear.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, so you got like I think it was more like yeah, you got Admiral Dizzlewit, and oh great, we lost Ian. He'll be back in a bit. Probably hit the up button. Anyway,
Okay.
you got Admiral Dizzlewit and Admiral Watts, and I'm just like, okay, where's Admiral wherever?
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yep.
Leia's still struggling with like she's and I thought they were over this by the end of Agents of Chaos, but I guess I was wrong. Uh, like she's still kind of struggling with the whole like does Han still love me? Are we still a thing?
Yeah.
Has is the hurt too much? Is he even the same man I married? And I feel bad for her because she's just trying to keep her family together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yes, Andres, we all love the EU. That's not up for debate here. Uh,
No.
but basically, like it's just like rough to see Leia in this position as well as and because her family is basically scattered. Like Anakin is still feeling guilt over what happened with Centerpoint. Uh,
Hmm.
Jason is pretty much kind of and we'll discuss it later. Swearing off the Force.
May I just say
Jaina's
that Jason is being Jason. That's the best way I can think to put it.
yeah, Jason is being Jason. The was it the 16, 17-year old in a perpetual midlife
Yeah.
crisis,
Yep.
despite not even being like 30 or 40.
Get up, my lord.
But yeah, he's got that problem. Jaina's in critical condition, and Rogue Squadron is
Yeah.
trying to ship her to her family as quickly as possible so that they can you know, get together. Han is doing his thing, helping the Rin, and Leia's trying to help her.
Mhm.
It's just like the solo family is just and something I kind of noticed for a while, like at least in this novel, the Luke and it was a bit more in Agents of Chaos, but Luke is kind of absent. He's here a
Hmm.
bit more, thankfully. But like
A thing
him
that I'd like
and
to mention about with you talk about Leia, the thing to always remember
Yeah.
about Leia is that of almost every one of the main characters in Star Wars, she is the social one. She is the one that is if she's a politician, she's the one that tries to bring everyone together. So when all this stuff happens, it hits her harder than most people would think because she really is big into with the family.
Yep.
Well, what makes it even rougher is that she spent most of her time, she lack
Yeah.
of a better word, she pawned off her kids on Luke. Han
Yep.
spent most of his time dealing with her political career. She spent most of her time in service of politics, and the time she wasn't dealing with the political career, or Han wasn't dealing with, he was off with Chewie having some fun. So she like her family was just kind of like it was together, but it also wasn't.
Yeah.
And so she
Yeah. The
kind of has
whole.
some regrets in that regard that like she feels like because of her political career that she isolated her family from her, and that actually comes up a bit when
Mhm.
Jaina eventually gets there. That like there's like some issues between you know Leia and Jaina,
Mhm.
Hmm.
like unresolved like mother issues,
Yeah. I would agree with
which
that.
I thought was interesting because like most of the time, other than like flight stuff, Jaina hasn't really had much to do, like you know like she hasn't really had much conflict as far as like I mean she obviously she lost her friend. I'm not going to pretend she didn't lose her friend, but as
Yeah.
far as like where her place is in this, she's pretty clear where she is. She's she's flying with Rogue Squadron. She knows where she is. She knows what she's doing. She's kind of one of the only people that isn't like kind of wandering around wondering what they should do. Like Leia is trying her best with refugees. Han is trying his best with the Rin. Jason is trying his best not to
Mhm.
use the Force the wrong way, and Anakin is struggling with guilt over Chewie and over Centerpoint, and it's like Jaina is the only one that doesn't seem to have like any sort of real issues. So the one good thing I can say about this book is it started fleshing out a bit more her
Yeah.
mom issues,
Hmm.
Mhm.
which was again a good thing for her characters because again it seemed like they were kind of taking it easy with Jaina, but now she's actually dealing with her own problem, which I like. She's trying to get
Yeah.
over whatever because she can get along well with Aunt Mara, but with Leia because of like the whole like you're my daughter and I want you safe, but she's like I'm grown now, mom. You've got to let me do my thing, and it's you know what I mean. It's back and forth with that
Yeah.
Hmm.
because there's certain
And
bonds only certain people can have, and you've got the whole reason Anakin and Luke and Mara are going to Duro is because they're looking for missing Jedi because some Jedi have started to go missing.
Mhm.
Vong kidnappings. And this was even before what happens at the end of this novel. There was like Jedi and their Padawans just kind of going missing. Disappearing on
Mhm.
planets.
Yep.
Yep.
Kind of foreshadowing stuff.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Um, so and then you've got a hut and within all this Rhonda from
Mhm.
the Agents of Chaos duology he's just kind of like scheming, trying to he even contacts at one point Viki Sesh, which ends up being to his detriment because he doesn't realize she's working for the Vong. Uh,
Yep.
Hmm.
and he's trying to find angles with Jaina, trying to find angles with Jason, and it's just like it's rough because I'm like, oh come on, dude.
Yeah.
Anything coming up with you guys or
Nothing.
uh,
Nothing in particular, other than what I was just saying.
yeah.
Yeah. With Jane, at least, if I am to budge in, yeah, I recall that she did have those, I guess, mother-daughter issues, and that there was that back and forth between them. Um, and I feel that after this book, I don't really remember it. I don't really remember there being a continuation to that conflict. I'm pretty sure it's because it's also resolved in this novel.
I think it
But
might have
no,
been,
yeah.
or it might have just been tabled. we'll see when I get to some of these
Yeah.
later novels, because as far as I know, it could
Yes,
pop up again.
She,
of course.
she's very laser focused and much more practical than a lot of the other characters.
Oh yeah, no, and
She
that's and
she
normally
tends
I
to
like that.
she tends to take after Han more than Leia, which has got to be a little bit maddening to Leia. Mm.
Well, what makes Jaina such an interesting character is that she's kind of a mix of Han and
Yeah.
Leia. She has Leia's beauty and a level of her compassion, but she at the same time, and it's even some of Leia's feistiness, but she also has like a lot of Han's skill and grit in her.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And so like
Correct.
yeah, because I know she'll get more of an arc later, especially post
Star
what do I
by
think
star.
yeah, post Star by Star. Especially after what happens in Star by Star, and I'll obviously we'll get there when we get there. But that is one I'm looking forward to is Star by Star because everybody I'm already on the edge of victory now, conquest, and so I'm getting ready for that one. But yeah, like she's the only one that didn't seem to be like uh struggling throughout these early books, and because she wasn't struggling so much with these early books, like it felt like okay, they're kind of taking it easy with her, and then this book just kind of out the gate has her get severely injured and temporarily blinded, and then she's dealing with her mother issues. So I'm like, oh, this is I would say, like, despite the shortcomings and some of the writing here, this is like a good book uh as far as like Jaina's arc.
Character
Hang on one sec.
development. Yeah.
Hmm.
Okay, so well, us two for the time being. Um, Another thing I recall, maybe it's we're gonna bring it up later because it happens towards the end, is how this is when the perception of the Jedi among the public really starts to sour,
Yeah, it does.
and that's only exhilarated by more or less the last paragraph of the story, which we're gonna get to that. But
Yep.
even throughout, I remember, very civilian, Duros and others, um, them not really taking well to, our characters being there, um,
Oh
and
yeah, the Duro, especially Duro shipping, really does not want them there because they're like, oh, they're
they,
polluting our world with their God, what's the term I'm looking?
With their
Like,
presence.
yeah, kind of like
well,
like
they
they
added
they're
Target on
very
their back.
unwelcoming. Uh,
We
and
already
that's
had we've already got plenty of hardship already. Why do we have to take yours on?
Yeah,
yeah, pretty much.
all they do is at
It's
least
it's
most
that
Duros, yes, sorry,
well, it's
they
it's
see them as
it's
adding.
yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, no, sorry for interrupting. That most Duros see them as adding a target on their back for the Yuzang Vong, is that the Yuzang Vong are a lot more likely to pass through their system, knowing that there are 5 or 6 Jedi currently on there.
Yeah, that's and I'm sorry, I wasn't trying to interrupt you or anything, but the
No,
thing I
no
was
problem.
thinking about was like this is kind of that point in war, and it does happen in war too, um, where like people start getting selfish and looking out for themselves,
Ooh, yeah.
and it's not even just like like it's not even just like a single solitary group. You've got like people in the peace brigade that like are hoping to appease the Vong. You have corporations that are hoping to use slave labor over droids in a vain attempt to hold on to what they have.
Yep.
Uh,
Hmm.
it's it's not just like it's like collaborators. It's people who are like heck in the previous in Agents of Chaos. Leia asked like the people of Raltier to
Hmm.
can you uh what's the term I'm thinking of here? Like, can you help us? We've got a ton of refugees that need help, and they're like, she's like, this is bigger than like your pocketbooks. We're trying to help people, and they completely cut her off because they're trying to hold on to what they have, their wealth, their limited
Yeah.
power, their limited resources,
Hmm.
because they and in a sense I can understand. Like in one sense I can understand, but in another I'm like where is the humanity in it? Like where's the morality? Like in war you're supposed to stick together with your allies, not push them away.
Yeah. I
And
mean, war can either m-
but
make or break. Uh, so take it
Hmm.
that as you will.
it seems to be breaking more than it's making in a lot of cases because
It can bring
like
out the
in
best, and it can bring out the worst. I think that's kind of what you're trying to say.
yeah, like
More
there's
or less.
obviously it's because it's not even just bringing out the worst in like people. It's bringing out the worst in the Jedi. If you think about Kip
Jedi,
Duran's little
Jedi
Jedi
are
sect
people.
there.
That's one of the mistakes a
Yep.
lot of people in universe make. Also, Jedi are people.
I'm not saying they aren't, but they're supposed to hold themselves to a
No,
higher standard and
I know,
accountability.
but my point is that it brings out the best and worst out of everyone, and it really puts those oaths that a Jedi takes to the test.
Yeah, and it's actually yeah, that's a pretty good analogy there. It makes you wonder like how, and even when I'm doing an Agents of Chaos, I've seen even more of that. Like how much of the code and how much of your morals are you putting to the test?
Yeah.
How much of it is are you willing to hold on to, and how much are you willing to let go? And are you unwittingly falling into the trap to become the next Vader?
Yep.
Hmm.
Which it seems in a lot of cases that might be the case.
that's kind of why I was interrupting you and going, no, that's the thing. Jedi are people because it
Oh well, again, I'm not saying they aren't,
no,
and
no, I know. I just mean that it actually it makes the observation even more important with them
yeah,
because with great power, recite it with me, comes great
comes great
responsibility.
responsibility.
Yep.
Well, so unfortunately, some Jedi are flaunting that responsibility.
Yes.
I don't just mean Kip. I don't just mean Kip Duran. I mean Jason too. My gosh, he's
Oh dear.
like, well,
You
The whole
here's the thing.
nugget.
you
There's such a thing as like obviously being reluctant to use the Force because even though I had a kind of a problem with the arc in the Timothy Zahn duology, Hand of Thrawn, the way it was kind of handled, I understood it. You want to use the Force, but you don't want to use it so much that like one, it becomes your only tool, and two, uh, it leads you down a path you really don't want to follow.
yeah.
Yep.
So I
Mm,
can understand a reluctance to use the Force, but for Jason to completely go cold turkey after using it for so long, I'm like, dude, that's
and his
that's
reasons
not
for
an
it.
easy that's not an easy path. And because you're going down it, especially in this critical time where things are not the best, it's not really a good time for Jedi to be schisming. It's not really a good time for you to be taking a vow of no force.
I said it before the stream started, but I'll say it again. Jason Solo has developed a case of main character syndrome.
He really has. And like even though like that vision, I'm
Yep.
pretty sure that vision was real of, the way he saw like the power of the light and the power of the dark and him standing on the balancing point.
Hmm.
The problem is like and I was reading an issue of Star Wars Legacy today, which kind of reminded me of this. It was Jedi Master Wolf Sazen complaining to Cade because he's like, like I do what I want, I take what I want, I don't care if it's the Jedi way, it's my way. And Cezanne pretty much calls him. So if you've replaced Coruscant as the center of the universe, the
Yeah.
galaxy now revolves around you. And I can see what you mean with Jason's main character syndrome, where he's like, everything depends on me. I'm like, dude, the balance point isn't just about you. Maybe this is your personal particular balance point. It doesn't mean it's and
Yeah.
the book seems to imply that it's also the galaxies, but I'm like, you don't know that.
Hmm.
You're,
And
the
the other thing to always remember about visions is the vision may be true, but that doesn't mean that you have accurately interpreted that vision.
exactly like
Very
you,
rarely do they interpret them
like
correctly.
Luke, like he does tell Luke about the vision, and of course it terrifies Luke, and that's actually a concept that's brought up between Luke and Mara in this book. Is like Luke's like, I'm getting older. I'm no longer the guy who's like the one people are relying on to save the galaxy. It's this new generation. It's kids like it's kids like Anakin
Yeah.
and Jason and Jaina, because they're the future. We're the
Hmm.
Mara, you and me, we're the past. They're the future.
Yeah. Uh, Once you get to Rebirth, Edge of Rebirth, there's a scene which is more or less revolves around that one
Yeah,
theme. So
that could have been more seen from Edge of Victory, and I'm just interpreting it now. But it's true regardless, because
yeah. So,
like this. And again, I get where Jason is coming from. He's trying, but he's picking the worst possible time to have this crisis.
yeah. I mean, it's, as Kip Duron says again later on in the, I think, Edge of Victory Rebirth it is. Uh, he goes to Jane and he says, well, spoilers, but we are the new Jedi Order. You know what Luke did, what Leia did, what Han did. That's all in the past. What we have to do now is, this is our generation. We have to deal with this crisis as best as we can because we're against the new blood, say.
Hmm.
Well,
My only problem with that argument, and this is my only problem, is that completely casts aside old wisdom that, believe it or not, is vital and necessary.
Yeah.
that's
It's
what Kip Duron is known for.
yeah, but it's it's the George Lucas argument. I've seen this in a video before. He from like an interview with him. He says like, I think a lot of the things that I'm dealing with is that if these morals, like these stuff was valid 2,000 years ago, they've got to still be valid today, even though they're not in fashion. And I think a lot of the more basic stories have fallen by the wayside, and
Yeah,
it's true because like there's deeper meaning behind like even some of like the most simplest stuff that you wouldn't expect would be there, but it
Yeah.
is. And and that's kind of my problem with Kip Duran. Is like you can't just completely cast aside the sure, do your own thing, be new, but when you completely cast aside what came before,
The
just kind of like pretend that it's not a thing, that it doesn't exist.
the new should be informed by what came before. It doesn't need to be what
Exactly.
came before, but it should
yeah,
be informed by it.
To be fair, like this, the one thing I'm not a huge fan of in these books is how hard they're trying to make Kip Duran like the bad Jedi. Like he had a lapse of judgment when he was a kid and fell under the sway of Exar Kun, and like they completely ignore any advancement that Kevin J. Anderson
He's the one
took with his character.
with the Sun Crusher, wasn't it?
Yeah,
yeah,
but
Yeah.
again, that wasn't even like he's in Dark Saber and
Oh yeah.
Jedi Academy Leviathan, and he's learned from the
Oh
mistake that
yeah.
happened.
I was just making sure that I was remembering the right it and
Yeah,
the right Jedi. Yeah.
and even
But
his appearance in Young Jedi Knights, it feels like he's like grown up, But
honestly, I've always I've seen the way that they've handled him as, yes, they're painting him as the bad Jedi, but I always tended to see that as the other Jedi mistakenly doing that, not that he actually is.
I mean, you know,
well, the one thing that I feel like dark, at least the first Dark Tide did, as far as justice wise, what it is that it kind of explained that because Kip is still carrying that guilt, he feels like he needs to be the Jedi that leads the Jedi and saves the galaxy so he can redeem himself for, even though he already kind of did it when he attempted to sacrifice himself sending the Sun Crusher into the maw.
Yeah,
But because he didn't die, that's not good enough. Because he didn't like suffer in pain or whatever, that's not good enough for some. Uh, and even like and even now in these books, Mara seems to like still has like a stick up her butt about Kip Duran. I'm like,
and
I really
Mara of all people.
yeah, I know. I've already
Mara.
anybody who's seen my previous streams knows how I feel about how Mara has treated people like and Kip Duran in the past, and I'm like, you've got no room to talk, lady. You
Yep.
really do not. But
There's
there was
definitely a
one really
school of.
great detail, but I'll get to it in a minute. I want to talk a bit about Savong Law and Nominor and their sort of like little power struggle going on
Mhm.
for like status. There seems to be something like that going on, like because Savong Law is like the head of like the fleet, and Nominor was like the initial instigator and manipulator of this whole situation, especially since Nam is like who is it, Yun Harla or something, like the trickster goddess. He seems to follow her,
Yeah.
and there's like it's like a almost like kind of like a chess cat and mouse type game.
Hmm.
The way they're trying to like one up each other so that they can gain God, what's the term I'm looking like
Credit among the
yeah,
rising
it's
republic.
like glory and credit. Who will gain the most glory and credit in the eyes of the gods and in the eyes of Supreme Overlord Shimra when he arrives?
Yeah.
It's like oh wow, these guys have like the same pissing contests we do.
Yep. It's the point where the different casts at times have actually e- either on purpose or not undermined each other.
Yeah, but I thought that was an interesting dynamic, and
Mhm.
there was something, and it bothered me um, because I kind of saw it coming. I'll talk about it later. Um, but basically, I thought there was going to be a bigger surprise when it came to Nominor, but he was exactly who I expected him to be in that one. And I'm like, oh well, that's kind of a letdown. Uh,
There
but
are sometimes that a character being exactly who you thought is kind of a surprise all by itself.
true, but it was
Mm.
kind of predictable here, and I was expecting a better twist. I'll mention what it is in a bit, but like you have
Okay.
the so okay, this note here. I didn't realize it until I remembered, but this book is the first official appearance of Kent Hamner.
Ooh.
Okay.
For anybody who knows that particular name, Kent Hamner is going to be a far more substantial character in the
Oh
later,
yes, yes. I
Well,
recognize that
unless you
name.
subscribe to the
uh,
fan theory that he's Ken Palpatine, but that's not true.
that would be funny. I would love that.
But he's a
Kent
retired
Hamner is actually just Ken Palpatine.
he's a retired New Republic like military officer, so I don't think, and he's middle aged,
Yeah.
so it
So
didn't
it's kind
really
of
line
strange to
up
see
with.
a retired military officer become a Jedi. So, and he is a Jedi. He's pretty much Luke's backup in this. And I'm I'm not gonna lie, like I was, you have more of Borsk Phalia not backing Luke up when it's needed.
Hmm.
But what do you expect?
Surprise, surprise.
And then eventually everybody finds out that everybody's on Duro. Like Anakin shows up with Luke and Mara, although Mara's in disguise, and so is Luke and Anakin. Uh,
Mhm.
and you have oh, that's a deep. Well, we'll get to that in a minute. But oh no, I was just remembering another detail that I missed. But you've got
Mhm.
they pretty much find out uh during negotiations with Jason uh that the
Mhm. Yep.
Hello?
Hmm. Hmm. Stuff happens. So okay, negotiations with the Vong. How do we continue that last phrase? Um,
I
yeah,
know, but there's
there's
that misguided they have that misguided belief that uh that the Vong are going to leave them alone in their floating cities. I'm like, no,
yeah,
that's
well,
Yeah,
like Anakin and Jason. I think even Luke makes it abundantly clear. Like, no, they intend to kill you.
and
They're
and I don't think that a lot of them still quite grasp how much the Vong hate technology. You guys are in floating cities that kept up there by technology.
and
You think they're
your
okay with that?
and your
no, they're
planet
not.
is
They're gonna wipe you
completely
out.
filled with machinery. So yeah, the Duros aren't really in the best position here. So I
No.
mean, they
Ooh,
did what
that's
they
the
could do.
detail I forgot. That's the detail I forgot. And this is actually one of the highlights of the book because it actually made me visibly go, "Aw," when I heard it. Mara's pregnant.
Yes.
Oh,
That
yeah,
yeah, no, that detail it surprised me in such a good way because like she at first she thought it was like like another Vong spore attack, and then she
Yeah.
realized there was something familiar. It felt like Luke, and like her eyes go wide, and then Luke comes in. He's like, "What's wrong?" He says, and he has feel this, and he feels his own kid in there, and I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
yep,
It is pretty cool.
again for like a mid NJ no O novel, it did have a good couple emotional
yeah,
moments that made me go just oh like
Yep. It is not all bleak.
no, there's
definitely
some hope which I like. And one thing I do want to talk about is everybody's reunion, in particular Han and Leia finally talking, like really talk, not just like
not. Yeah,
message from like one portion of the galaxy to the next. They're actually together in the same room
It's no
talking.
longer writing letters.
Yeah, no,
yep,
they're actually talking, and like Han makes it
and
clear, he's like, I haven't been the best, and she's like, no, I haven't been the best. And then they kind of, it was that beautiful scene of them kind of like learning to share the blame and like reconcile, and it was nice, it was beautiful.
Yep.
Uh,
yeah,
and then they find out Jason's not using the Force, and they're like, well, it's bad timing. Uh,
Yeah. And then we tell them to get a room.
yeah, they did tell them to get a room. And then Jaina complained to her mom because that's Jaina.
Hmm.
I did think it was interesting and this kind of detail that they all got their heads shaved because of like there was like a contamination leak or something like that, so
I'd
they had to like
forgotten. I'd forgotten that detail.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out like why does Jason look
Also,
so when I looked in the Essential Readers Companion, Jason looks a little
mhm,
weird, like
yeah,
like why is his hair so short? And
Leia
then
as well.
yeah, Leia as well. She's actually wearing at least a shower cap in that photo. So that's why you can't see her recently
Yeah,
shaved head. And their hair grows back no problem, so it'll take them what 2-3 months before the hair's fully grown again. Uh
Yep.
mhm,
because they got healthy hair. Uh
And
and
thankfully they
then
don't
yeah.
thankfully they don't get their Jedi powers from their hair, unlike Samson from the Bible.
one detail that was popping up was Jason not trusting Vicky Sesh, Jaina
yeah.
too, just despite not using the Force as much anymore.
Mm-hmm. Something
She's
just
a
felt off.
politician. Do you really trust them?
If I remember correctly, something just feels off about Vong to the Jedi, even if they're not actively trying to use their Force. It just
Well,
feels
Vicky
weird.
Sesh isn't a Vong,
Oh,
but
right. Sorry, my bad.
no, she's a collaborator
Right.
from Kulak.
With the Vong, it's because there's an absence of the Force
Oh,
wherever they are,
yep.
so that's why it's weird.
Oh yeah.
No, because they thought Mara went with Jaina, uh, and this is where the big reveal comes in. They thought this one particular scientist was Nama Noor, and surprise, surprise, or not really surprised at all. The scientist was the Duro scientist was Nama Noor in disguise. Part of me was hoping that they would pull the rug underneath me, and it would turn out to be like one of his lab assistants, like someone you'd least expect. But I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, oh man, that like it's predictable. I'm like, oh well. And then we actually get the revelation, or at least Mara does, from Nama Noor saying, "Yeah, I'm the one that poisoned you with the Coom spores."
Yep.
And he's about to throw another viral jar, and she has to like set up a force bubble so Jaina doesn't get infected, and that whole like lower tunnel system gets full, and then they that's like I believe it or not, because I had fears about it myself at one point. All right, so you know about like deep cave diving,
Yeah.
Yep.
like the claustrophobia that are in like narrow passages.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and so they're under like a big amount of debris inside a forced bubble, trying
Hmm.
to suck in, trying to avoid getting crushed by rocks in that sort of like narrow claustrophobic passages. They're lucky there wasn't any water rising because that would have been more terrifying.
Yeah.
Yep.
I imagined, again, when you imagine that sort of scenario of them crawling through all that that death, like not death, but like that narrow passage. It's claustrophobic and it's scary to think about.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Fortunately, they're Jedi with a calmer mind than us, so they can handle that sort of thing. But it's
Regular Tuesday.
yeah. And then the Vong invade, and the Duros military ends up being stupid. Uh,
Surprise, surprise.
Not really that big of a surprise because they end up listening to the people who they end up listening to Peace Brigade people,
Oh,
and
of course. And
Mara boards that fleet, and she's like, "What are you doing?"
you do know that I was being sarcastic.
Yeah, I know, but that's kind of how she is. She was like, "What are you doing?" Like the Vong have no intention of keeping peace with you, and she pretty much, I forgot exactly how she proved it, but she pretty much proved that they were
Well,
lying because
the
Leia
Peace
actually
Brigade
ended up
guys.
getting caught. Huh? Go ahead.
I'll just about to say that the Peace Brigade guys and all that stuff is kind of one of the more interesting things I find about the New Jedi or series. Just kind of to point out that peace for the sake of peace is not always the best.
they're not really talking about peace. They're talking about
Appeasement.
compliance and servitude and appeasement. Yeah,
I know, but they're claiming that they're doing it for peace. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
we're doing this in the name of peace. No, you're doing this to appease some people that are probably going to kill you anyway
Yeah,
if you don't
Yeah.
appease their gods.
the
And
first against the wall, and in this case, literally.
but we helped you against face the wall.
Yeah, and and that in fact is how they feel how they feel about it.
Yeah, and it doesn't Leia and both Leia and Rhonda get captured. The Hutt get captured by
Hmm.
Savang Law,
Yeah.
and they watch as like innocent bystanders from like a window are being like sacrificed.
Hmm.
And Leia,
Yeah.
bless her heart, tries to reason with them.
Yes,
Oh, honey, no,
that
no.
that is kind of Leia's default, though.
I know, but these
Mhm.
you can't reason with these people. They're insane religious zealots.
I know.
Yeah.
They will label you an infidel just by saying, "Well, that doesn't sound
Wrong.
right."
Well, just saying wrong without the Yuzang in front of it is considered heretical. So.
But yeah, and yeah, Kent Hamner uh tries to ask Borsphalia to send in aid and rescue, and he's like, "Nah, we can't commit."
Hmm. Yeah.
And I'm like, "Okay, then Duro's gonna fall, you idiot." Uh,
Yep.
Hmm.
Thankfully, they were able to convince the Duro fleet to like evacuate the cities and uh, help get Leia and them out of there. But like before that, like they capture Jason, and Jason like doesn't want to use his lightsaber or his force powers, but he's forced to, and then I'm pretty sure he bursts open the window. It's been a bit since
I, I think that no, I think that's what it said.
yeah.
Yeah, what a window or a door.
If he finally stands firm, basically, and as the Vision wanted him to stand firm,
Yep.
Uh, and Rhonda was killed. Like he literally
Yeah.
like he did one noble thing before he died. He actually tried to do something noble, and then he like the Vong kill him. I'm like, well, there
Hmm.
goes a semi noble Hut.
I mean,
It just pretty much shows you like not even the Huts with all their power are safe from this stuff. So it's like,
yeah.
yeah, it's it's not good, and they do manage to defeat them, but then Savang Law has his big proclamation, which is like, I want the jet, like he after they conquer Duro, obviously, and make it their new big staging ground. They're like, uh, I want the Jedi to surrender all your Jedi to me, especially
Jason Solo.
especially the blasphemous coward Jason Solo, and he ends
Yeah.
up because he still had Leia's lightsaber, and he ends up throwing it into their big like sacrificial fire pit.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Oof.
yeah, no, these people cannot be negotiated with. They're like they're not reasonable, sound-minded individuals. They're zealous, believing in their insane gods. So it's like, oh yeah, well, they're
Hmm.
And people
and
still think that bringing Jedi to them will appease them.
yeah, and then you brought up this point, and I'll mention it though. At least in our background stuff was how some people which one was it, Jewish people, something like that, they were pretty much surrendered to appease people, but it wasn't like
Yep.
It wasn't enough because even those people were killed.
Yes.
I'm like, it doesn't matter who you sent. Like when you have like these
Yeah,
types
never
of
will work.
insane religious fanatics, and
Yeah.
this doesn't even just do at this particular time in history. It's any particular time in history. Anytime you've got like people that are like so zealous uh, in their insanity,
The
you
more you
think,
give them, the more that they're going to try to take.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like it doesn't matter if you gave them this particular individual because at the end of the day, uh, those particular individuals won't be enough to appease them.
Yep.
It's gonna be
It,
another one who
it
either
will
is gonna
never
end up
be
being
enough to
another one
appease
and
them.
another one.
Like what are you going to give them after the Jedi? You going to give them the Nogri or the Mandalorians? Although the Mandalorians are on their side right now,
Yeah.
secretly not on their side. But like what are you going to give them next? You going to give them the Bothans? I'm sure that will go well with Borskfalia.
Oh yeah.
Give them all the tricky
Yeah.
Bothans. Give them all the Wookiees. Yeah, no, it's not going to be enough. But the problem is because people are terrified of the Vong, they'll do it. They'll give them
Yep.
all the droids. They'll give them all the Jedi because again, people are scared and looking out for themselves. It's you call it human nature, but not every character in the book is human. So
That's one thing that I
I
always
mean,
find funny when, and I'm actually playing a game or whatnot, not where there's a lot of different races, and then they talk about human nature or humanity. It's like, okay then.
well,
yeah.
because it's primarily the human race, we have nothing to like sort of like. I guess you
Oh
could call it basic decency.
yeah.
Basically, basic decency, kindness, and morality get thrown out.
Sentient decency, I guess.
Well, it's like the Joker's speech from The Dark Knight. The morals and code are a bad joke, dropped at the first sign of trouble. They're only as good as the world allows them to be.
Hmm.
When the chips are down, these civilized people will eat each other. The Vong aren't monsters; they're just ahead of the curve. But yeah, it's that like kind of sell you out mentality, like and again, even the again using Dark Knight as the analogy, it's like do you blow up the prisoners or do you blow up the innocent civilians, or are both going to get blown up if nobody makes a choice?
Yeah. The
Mm,
trolley problem.
The
yeah.
point being, no matter what, if you appease the bad guy, if you appease the maniac, no surprise, the maniac is appeased. It doesn't matter. Like all you've done is sacrifice your own morality to save your own life
Yep.
because you were a coward, because you were too afraid to actually stand up to a powerful enemy and say enough is enough.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And that's kind of what the galaxy has been, is like you've got people who collaborate with the Vong and you've got people who want to appease them. And even Borsk Phalia is in the next book is talking about it. I'm like, oh, oh, you coward.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
so yeah, that was Balance Point.
Mm,
Good moments, but uh ultimately just kind of an okay novel. Good continuity though.
yeah.
That's one thing that these books always that these NJO books always stand for, which is the
Oh,
Oh yeah.
continuity.
yeah.
Yep.
Regarding continuity, I flash, bro. Okay, 6 in the morning here, but it came quick as a flash. I remember in Balance Point, Hannes describing various ships he
Yeah.
can see. I don't know where he is, and he says one of them is like a tagged battle cruiser. So we also have connections to the Marvel comics, which is
Oh
kind of
yeah.
cool to look at. These one-off lines, which on the surface don't mean much, but If you've read the
Yeah, no, I
material.
kind of missed that detail. Like, but yeah,
It's
I think I
one
do
of
remember hearing
line.
a
One of
tag
line.
battleship, and mind you, the tag family is pretty much gone by this point.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that some of their old liners are still just kind of hanging around as like cargo ships and trader ships.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one we talk
Yep.
about is the short novella Recovery, and this one was a little better. And I say that in the bed like it was a vast improvement from what I had just gone through with Balance Point, and it basically starts with Han and Leia recovering on Corellia,
Yep.
and Leia's still like kind of resting, and Han's kind of watching over her, and then like I don't know if they're Peace Brigade or bounty hunters, but they tried to kill or capture Leia to take to the Vong, and Han is able to end up like defeating them. Uh, but then another problem arises. That one of the people in one of the tanks is
Uh,
someone that the
Senator
doctor is insisting that Han and Leia take with them. Just pretend it's your daughter. He's like, okay, but why? And then not long after that, a press group shows up, and it's none other than Thraken Sal Solo.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And he is
Mm-hmm.
now governor of Corellia.
That piece of crap just keeps on rising.
He's like a cockroach. You can't you
Mm-hmm.
kill one and he pops up again when you least expect it.
Yep.
Yep.
And again, because he was able to wipe out half of the Hapen fleet, along with and that's part of the reason why most of the people back in Balance Point were forced to go to Duro, because the Hapens couldn't take anybody in because they were isolated again. Because of guess what? Thraken using Centerpoint to wipe out half of their fleet.
Yep.
Yeah.
But no, he's a big hero. Yay,
Yay.
Thraken!
Defended the Corellian system. All that matters.
Yeah, and
Hmm.
like it was just interesting to see like just how much that the system is kind of like lauding him as like a hero.
Yeah.
Hmm.
The
And
the
so like
Corellians are the Corellians
yeah,
are sometimes a little short-sighted.
Yeah.
well yeah, they're libertarians, they don't always see the full picture.
I was about to make a snarky comment like that.
And I mind you, I say that as someone who identifies as libertarian, but
I'm I,
even though
I'm
I'm
I would say that I'm close to a small L libertarian. But
And
but
don't
but
the
there's a
trade
point
lot
be
of
the
me, Vaughn.
short-sightedness there.
yeah, no, the point being is like they never like bother to look at the bigger picture. At
Yep.
least among these people, they like to keep to themselves. And of course, they're doing their usual. We're keeping to ourselves, and but
Mm-hmm.
Don't tread on me, Vaughn, or New Republic.
don't tread on me, New Republic. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
honestly, considering who's running the New Republic at this time, I can't
There.
really blame them for wanting to back off and possibly secede.
I can see that.
Yep.
When you have an idiot like Phalia in the quote unquote White House,
Yeah. The guy we've discussed before that we love to hate. He is so well written, but damn, I want to kill him.
oh yeah, no, I can't wait to talk about Edge of Victory next time because I'm gonna lay into him.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
I'm so gonna. He did something in Edge of Victory that just
Yeah.
I was visibly yell. I was working in my freezer at the time, and I was visibly yelling like, "Oh, you absolute coward! You
Oh.
coward!"
Yep.
But
We get there when we get there.
Yeah, we get there when we get there, which will be a while away because I got two novels and a short story before I can talk about it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And Leia, the problem with moving Leia because Thraken wants them off planet. He's like, he's like, we don't take any sides with like political alliances. We know the mercenaries weren't hired by Peace Brigade, but you got to leave because technically
Hmm.
you killed three Corellian citizens
Yeah.
because they weren't affiliated with Peace Brigade. Regardless, we don't take any sides in political matters.
Mhm.
Uh,
Yep.
excuse me. Anyway, so like there's this possibility of like if they move Leia too soon because she was severely injured during balance point, and she was severely injured during that. Like her legs are like screwed up. Like if they're not careful, she may never walk again. Basically, that's how,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that should give you the general idea of how things are as far as
Hmm.
things and Thraken, he don't like he's like, I don't care, I want you off my planet. Unless you have Anakin here, in which case, I need his help to restart center point.
That's all he really cares about.
Yeah, I know. And they're trying to insist that the girl in the back to tank is Jaina, but it turns out she's another Jedi. I forgot
Alicia.
her name.
It's Alicia. Alicia.
Yeah,
Alicia.
she was like lyric or something like that, or a teacher of lyric, something.
She was okay. She was Sabatin's master. So if I recall correctly, and this is where they actually show up in the short story
Well,
as well.
Saba herself does not show up, but a couple of
Oh,
her other Barabel Jedi
oh
show up,
yeah,
which got me.
the
And again, I said it before, I'll say it again. I love Barabel Jedi.
hmm
They are the perfect balance because they are. I forgot the names of these particular ones in this short story, um,
the
but they were
Tessar
like,
and I think Tessar is in it.
yeah.
One of them.
Thank you for looking them up.
No
But
man.
like these ones in particular, like again, going back when I said about the Han Solo AC Crispin books, most cases, Barabel are towering, jerks who, if you cross them wrong, they'll toss you across the room or tear you to shreds. Um, but the way like the Jedi Barabel work is that they're balanced so that they come off as like hulking creatures, but also very reasonable people. And there was another one, I forgot his species and his name, but like they're like salt addicts.
Oh, who are those guys again?
You know what
Like
I'm
when your
talking
soul is
about.
drugged to them?
Hang on,
Yeah.
let me go to the Wikipedia.
Source, trust me, bro. Never mind.
Yep, and to be honest, to remind myself about the books, that Wikipedia is where I've been getting my synopses from.
Oh, I know.
Yep. Nice.
Roxy Barl. Yeah, that was I think he was. Oh no, that was a Peace Brigade guy. Okay, let's see which one. Who's Dex? Oh no, wait, that was another Peace Brigade. Screw that guy. Uh,
Holy.
Belahara. That sounds like. Yeah, that was one of the Barabel Jedi. One of the female Jedi Barabel that was the apprentice of Saba Sabatine.
Uh-huh.
Let's see who else
Yeah.
was there. Oh, Krasov
Um.
Kav-
Ah, yeah.
Kavramgia.
He's also a Barabel. I mean, there's like this group of Barabels who were under
No,
her.
this was a human male.
Wait, Krasos?
Oh, okay. No, never mind. He was a senator. Jeez, Sabatine,
Yeah.
Tisar Sabatine. Okay,
So
that was is that her brother or her son? Oh,
her
yeah,
son,
that's her
she has
son. Okay,
children as well.
I'm trying to figure out which guy was that one alien. Oh yeah, that's one detail that I didn't see until Edge of Victory, but was also in Recovery. They mentioned that Dorsk 82 was killed.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh
Hmm.
man, that sucks. Like, I only
That was
remember
a
Dorsk
Jedi who was
80.
killed off.
Yeah. Okay, that's who it was. He's an Arcona. Izal Waz.
Mm.
Oh, he was Kenneth Hamner's pupil. Okay,
Hmm.
that's the detail. Okay, yeah, I'm remembering it now from Recovery. Okay. Uh, yeah, and these guys all like they pretty much all like got aboard um Han and Leia's ship
Hmm.
and pretty much helped them fight off Peace Brigade and other ships and whatnots. That
Hmm.
trying to think
Yeah.
of, and then they took him to a
They
facility. I
never.
can't remember the name of the facility, but it was like kind of off the grid. It was like a resort.
Okay.
What was
Let's see.
it? What was the name of it?
Uh, 17. At Cinnabar Moon.
That's what it was. Okay.
Okay. And that's afterwards. I think they go to Coruscant.
Yeah, they do eventually, but Leia has to recover a little, and Han, like, they have another little intimate moment there, which I thought Balance Point covered pretty well. But again, they feel like it feels like they have to tread ground a couple times in this series. Like, just in case you forget, Han and Leia they're getting back together.
Yeah, I mean, it's multiple authors as well writing these, so this might can happen.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
But you
Hmm.
think because they're working so well together, they think figure out how to do this together because both Lucino and Keys, it feels like they've read what came before, and
Hmm.
everybody else is just getting like a
Yeah,
brief synopsis. But
yeah.
anywho, uh, so they find out pretty much while they were recovering there that Vicky Sesh is planning what was it like a kind of anti Jedi bill
Mm.
so that they can kind of like officially outlaw the Jedi. And they actually find some pretty damning evidence against Vicky
Hmm.
that when they get to Coruscant, they are able to utilize against her, which makes her anti Jedi bill falter, even though she's not like entirely defeated,
Hmm.
but her reputation is in the crapper at this point.
Yeah. So you know how she gets away? Does anybody remember?
Uh, she pretty much uh like denied the allegations and then like either stuck to her apartment or left the planet.
Okay, kind of. So she ended up, if I remember correctly, she pinned it on one of her aides, and
Oh yeah, no, one of
he
her aides
pinned,
was at the meeting, and yeah,
and he
the
pinned
aide
right
actually
before
like
he died.
I guess the aide killed himself and like said it was all me. She's in the clear, but
Yep.
still, her reputation is suspect now
Yeah.
Yep.
because there's been so many people that like collaborated with the Vong um, everybody's now watching her suspiciously.
Yeah.
Doesn't help that with the announcement, everybody who would eventually initially be against them is pretty much collaborating with Fong now.
Yep.
Yeah.
Especially Borsk Failure. But yeah, I can't remember every single detail from Recovery, but I do remember liking it a bit more than Balance Point.
I mean, I disagree. I felt as if I liked Balance Point a bit more. I mean, as a comparison, one of them is 80 something pages, the other is 300.
Oh, I
So
know, but there have been
yeah,
times where I've liked
less is more
like the
sometimes. Less is more.
like like young reader novels more than like official long length novels.
Yeah,
No,
that's
that
true a lot of the
happens.
time as well. Less is more. I mean, we have different tastes.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting is Balance Point is one of the shorter um,
The
NJO books.
hardcovers.
Yeah,
So yeah.
the hardcovers is what I have, and that's again it's one of the shorter. Like it's I think it's rough. I think it's only like a little shorter than Vector Prime.
Mm, yep.
But Vector Prime at least was able to hold my interest more.
Hmm.
And again, I'm not crapping on this novel. It's just this novel in particular was just kind of like okay to me. I am
Hmm.
liking Edge of Victory Conquest a lot more though,
Yep.
and I'm looking forward to
Um.
seeing where the series goes from that point.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Uh, but as far as like Balance Point goes, it was just okay, and Recovery was a lot better, a lot more interesting, a bit more fast paced. And it's weird because like not everything I like has to be fast paced. Sometimes I like a slow burn story because it usually builds up to something big. That's why I'm looking forward to Star by Star too, because that's considered by many to be like one of the longest novels. So I know it's going to be a slow burn with good moments in it, but like
Ooh, yeah. I mean,
I'm
it's a
hoping.
long.
But
I mean, there are various reasons for why Star by Star is a long, and we're gonna go over them when we get there.
yeah,
Um, it's the longest Star Wars novel, actually, if I recall correctly. So over 600
I believe you
pages.
recall correctly.
So six. Yeah. It's then unifying force.
Oh yeah, no. When I got my hardcover of Unifying Force, I thought I was expecting it to be shorter, but it's a good length.
Yeah.
Uh, so yeah, overall, I like the short story Recovery and Balance Point. Though it was better than Agents of Chaos, it wasn't better by too much, in my opinion. There were definitely interesting things happening and good continuity bits here and there.
Hmm.
Good moments too, like finally kind of giving Jaina a sort of like conflict.
Yeah.
You know, Jason suffering more from his midlife crisis main character syndrome.
Quarter life crisis.
This is it's kind of making me look more forward to Traitor when like uh,
Uh,
Vergier ends up influencing him for his future dark path because I'm like, yeah, he's kind of at a crossroads right now. He's still trying to figure out things.
it's a
Honestly, I think
gradual change, which
I think that the building up to that is one of the bigger parts of this book. Because I joke about the
Yeah,
main character, I joke about the main character syndrome, but uh, that really is leading into all of that.
well,
yeah,
it's on
I
the
know
front
that
cover.
much. And I don't think was it Warlord Shimra. Every time they talk about Shimra, like I've seen what he looks like. He's like hulking, and he's got like tusks on the side of his face from like I've seen of the artwork. But like, I'm still looking forward to his appearance, which I think is in Star by Star.
Mm-hmm.
So, any final notes before we close this off? Anything you guys want to say?
I don't think so in
Uh,
particular.
it was a nice stream.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I told you this one was going to be a little bit shorter because
Yeah,
there wasn't too much to this book. At least
not
with like,
not as
at
The,
much
least like with
news.
Agents of Chaos, there was a lot more that I remembered because again, there was two of them,
hmm
Yep.
and so there was obviously the details that I remembered from this one, and they were good ones, but like uh again, not every moment just kind of like wowed me the way I was like
Sure.
expecting it to.
Yeah.
But I'm getting really looking forward to Edge of Victory because I know I'm getting closer to Starbucks, so I know it's ramping up for something good, and and again, I'm already a couple chapters into Edge of Victory, and I'm loving it.
Yep. Well,
So thank you again, guys, for coming on. I know it wasn't as lively a stream as
Oh,
usual.
no, I had a good time.
Okay,
Thanks for having me.
yeah, no, and I'm hoping to have you guys again when we talk more with Edge of Victory.
Oh,
yep.
definitely.
Uh,
Pretty
want to hear
much
more?
as long as I'm available, I'm always happy always happy to come on.
Well, I work these streams around people's schedules because, like if it's just me talking, it's just going to come off as like annoying to me. Like, as I'm like, I feel like I'm just talking to thin air.
And honestly, even if the other person doesn't have as a lot to
Yeah.
say, it feels different to be talking to someone rather than talking to thin air, like you say.
I
Yeah,
mean, yeah. This is why I joined these streams. It's because I mean, this is the only place I really get to talk about the EU live.
yeah. Well, this might not be the only location because God, what am I thinking of here? Something I was talking about to CT and an Nihilist the other day was I was talking about the possibility of doing Clone Wars multimedia project stuff. Getting because he's been more of a fan of the Dave Filoni Clone Wars, and I want to get him into the multimedia project stuff
Mm,
so he
okay.
can see why folks really like that series,
hmm
myself included, because I absolutely like my first stepping stones into the EU, or at least back into it after like being away from it for so long was like because I only had a few bits and pieces when I was younger. Uh, was watching the Filoni Clone Wars, and I'm like, and I liked it, but like at the same time, I'm like, videos are recommending like, oh, this was all right, but you should check out this because it's better, and I'm like, okay, I'll give it a shot, and I gave it
Yep.
a shot, and I'm like, this is better. Okay,
Mm,
the continuity's stronger, the stories are better written here.
yep.
And I keep on coming back to the fact that I didn't even realize that Filoni's Clone Wars was even a thing until Force Awakens, because I just thought that when people talk about the Clone Wars, I thought they were talking about the movie, and I never paid attention to them.
No,
Yeah.
when I heard about the Clone Wars series, I was like, because again, when I was younger, I didn't really care much for continuity. I was just like, oh, they're making another Clone Wars story. I'm like, but I wasn't really interested by then because I'm like, we've already gotten the Clone Wars. I'm sick of the Clone Wars. Give me something new. It was about that point I started reading Legacy, so I was like, yeah, forget the Clone Wars. I'm going here.
My introduction to Star Wars in general was the '03 micro series. That was the
Oh,
start
that
of
was
it
a
for
good
me.
starting point.
Yeah.
That is a definite good start. I stumbled onto that series by accident. Like I knew about it, but like I was like at like a Walmart or something, and I saw the DVD for Volume One, and my mom picked it up for like I couldn't remember if like she had like gotten it for me just out of random, or if she had gotten it for my birthday. But I remember watching it when I was like 10 or 11 years old in like 2003, 2004, and I absolutely loved it.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
we also did the 20th anniversary of Revenge of the Sith, not to drag the stream, but that also happened. Did
Oh
you
yeah,
ever
no, no.
watch it?
I was talking to my mom about possibly going to see it because I had only seen Revenge of the Sith like twice in theaters. I was hoping to see it a third time when it was out, but never got around to it. So I'm like, yeah, maybe I'll try to see it a third time finally.
Oh,
That'd be cool.
it's a fun experience. I didn't watch it in theaters originally, and I went with a friend.
Well,
Um,
when I went to theaters years ago, like I saw Phantom Menace once and I saw Attack of the Clones twice, so I'm like, let's try to see Revenge of the Sith three times. That way I
I
could
was,
do like the
yeah.
I was just about to say the progression.
yeah.
Mhm. Okay. People were clapping in the scene where Anakin was killing the younglings. I remember.
I heard about that. That I
That's
showed a
oh
clip of
dear.
that from Twitter to my mom. She's like, these people are sick. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's still kind of funny
It's
though.
a little bit
Yeah.
awkward if you don't really know it's the meme around it.
Yep.
She knows the meme around it, or at least is vaguely aware of it. But yeah, even my brother who knows the meme, he's like, "Oh, geez, I can't believe people were clapping at that." All
Yeah.
right.
Well,
So,
I
if
think
anything else you guys want to let out before I close it off?
I don't think
Yeah,
so.
this
It's
one's
just
dedicated to Dad.
All right. Well, thank you again, guys, for joining me, and thank you for anybody who watched. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please follow Netcat. Like, share, and subscribe. I would do Yanis, but he's
There's
very
nothing to see on mine.
yeah,
and
he's very clear that there's nothing to see on
yeah,
his. But I appreciate you guys coming by. I'm
and for
looking forward to
everybody who
talking.
for everybody who's watching this on the replay, thank you for watching all the way through.
Yes, thank you.
Yep.
Uh, and I'm looking forward to talking Edge of Victory with you guys. Hopefully in like 3 or 4 weeks, depending
Okay.
on how long it takes me to get through the novels and the short story, or the novella rather, because of all the short stories put together. All
Mm-hmm.
right.
Hmm.
Thanks again for
Yep.
joining me, guys. Thanks again for anybody who watched.
Yep.
Have a good one, y'all.
Yep. Have a good one.
Yep.
Bye.
Goodbye. Have a good day.